Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. And you're listening to Talking Downey with Mayor Mario. Hey folks, how are you? Thanks for coming back and watching and listening to our show. So I wanted to recap. I always start off by recapping the city council meeting. A couple contentious moments there last night, but overall, we got 5 good council people that are passionate about the community, care about our city. So I wanted to start with that. I'm going to give you the honest truth of what's going on, but let me recap some other easier things, if you will, that happen or are going on in the city of Downey. So by the way, we always have the Citizens Academy when you go for like 10 weeks on a Wednesday night to the police department. And man, it's amazing. You learn exactly what they do, different departments within the police. Well, we're having a youth academy. So starts February 26th. I think it's from 14 years old to 18. So if you have some youth in our community, I love that. I love our police department doing outreach. The public hearing last night. There was a public hearing for the district reorganization of how we elect our city council. So this is the second public hearing, and they voted 5-0 last night to go to 5 districts, okay? Instead of right now, we have 4 districts and 1 citywide elected official, District 5. So they voted to go to 5 equal districts. Somebody I heard in the public comments, which I actually agree, I'm not sure how you're going to do that. It's not rosy that you pick out a middle section and you say these are 5 equal. So it's going to be interesting how the maps are laid out and what the quality of the maps, because it's got to be by population. So some parts of our city have have larger populations. So this is a big thing. Let your council people know. Look at the maps that are going to be proposed. There's got to be 2 more to vote on, but it started the ball rolling. This is twice now the council's voting 5-0. I am against this. I thought we should have fought it. Our system has worked for 60 years in the city of Downey, 4 by district and 1 overall. If you live in the city of Downey, you have 2 representatives. You have the district person and you have the citywide one. Why do I want to give up 1 less council person serving me, representing me? So I think the council, again, I'm saying they're good people. We just disagree philosophically. They punted. They should have gone back and tried to change it. They should have fought this. Based on the California Voters' Rights Act, we cannot discriminate. We are not discriminating against anybody because we already have 4 district-wide ones. So there's a lawyer that's kind of an ambulance chaser. Name is Andrew Saraga. Sends a letter to the city. He wants his quick money. Give me 40 grand, or I have a client that's being underrepresented in the city of Downey. And somebody else brought it up last night. Well, show me the client. Why are we kowtowing to this so far? And yes, the California Voters' Rights Act, what it does is trying to make sure that nobody is disenfranchised in the city. You don't want all 5 council people living in 1 district, because then the rest of the city is not represented. But we already took care of that when we were founded 60 years ago. We have 4 districts and 1 citywide one. Everybody has 2. So I'm sorry, I disagree with what they're doing, but you know what? They're moving forward on having 5 equal districts. Hold on to your hat. It's going to be interesting. So that's a big deal. When they were talking last night about emergency preparedness, I'm glad that they're looking into it, especially with the fires and all the things that are happening in Southern California. And you know what? Somebody brought it up, one of the council members. We're lucky. We have an emergency preparedness manager. That started under my administration on there. Not that it was, I did it all. I was one of the pushing ones along with Dr. Roger Brosmer. But we have an emergency preparedness person. Our first one was our former fire chief, Mark Sauter. So it's been quite a few years, and you know what? It makes us feel better. We know we're prepared, and thank goodness for that. That's money well spent on behalf of the city of Downey and our residents. So right now it's coming up because of all the fires and all the natural disasters, but I'm glad we have that. So residents, that's a really good thing. The public safety. Measure D authorized an additional tax, and I'm going really fast here. Okay, number 1, it's the afternoon instead of the morning, and I've had a couple cups of coffee more than normal. Number two, I wanted to get in the discussion at the end about the additional funds in the YMCA because that was kind of an interesting discussion at the end between fiscal responsibility and needs that we want for the city. So public safety, Measure D voted an additional sales tax for more public safety. So in December, they voted for 9 police public safety officers in different categories. And then last night, they voted for an additional 9. So now we had 1.4 million plus 1.5 million, 2.9, almost $3 million to go toward public safety. So they're doing what they said they were going to do as far as you vote for this, residents, and, we'll make this happen. So that's the number one concern that we all have, especially for me. I just want my family to be safe. I am the chairman of the Measure S Oversight Committee, which basically on the last bond, how we're spending our money. And the city has done an amazing job on that. You've seen the beautiful library, you've seen the parks, you've seen the fire stations. We've really invested that money wisely. You've seen additional roads. You see even that had additional officers. So the Measure D, they're going to use the same committee. So I'm proud to serve with all of them. We had our meeting 2 weeks ago, and go on the city website. It's got all the numbers on what they're spent it on Measure S, and then what on Measure D is going to be spent on. So I'm real proud of the oversight that we provide. It's the city council that designates how the money is going to be spent. So if you want needs and you want certain things for our city, or ideas on there, talk to your city council person, and then they'll consider it, just like what they did last night. So public safety, emergency preparedness, the district, the youth, and then there's a lot of other discussions on, generators for our water wells. They cost about $500,000 each. We need 9 of them. We rent some of them for $40,000 a month. So there's a real need there, a capital expenditure. So that's something that's coming up in the budget. Which brings me up to the last thing. So the YMCA, full disclosure, I'm a board member of the YMCA. I've been a board member for many years. I love the YMCA. My family's been a member of the YMCA. I was a YMCA lifeguard when I was a little boy or a teenager at the one in the city of Huntington Park. I played in back then the league was Gray Y, and I played all 3 sports. I love the Y. I love what it does. I would go here, the one here in Downey. I've made a contribution, a pledge for the rebuilding of that. It's going to be a beautiful YMCA here for the Downey Family YMCA. So the city of Downey last year gave $1 million to the YMCA, spread out over 3 years. A really nice, generous pledge. It showed the commitment from the city for a YMCA for something that is much needed. They've also waived almost $400,000 in fees. So it's about $1.4 million, close to $1.5 million after $66,000 they approved last night. So let's round it off. It's not exact. Please don't quote me on that. But it's $1.4 million to $1.5 million they've already pledged for the Y. That's awesome. I love that. And it's a lot of money and to give to one organization, but it's worthwhile. The YMCA does so much for our youth, for our seniors. So here's where it got a little interesting. So the YMCA has come back, and I understand that they have some tax credits that will give them additional money to almost get there enough money to build the YMCA. But to get those tax credits, they need an additional $1.5 million. So they came to the city 2 weeks ago and says, hey, we need an additional $1.5 million to get these tax credits. And I think it expires at the end of the week. It might be February 1st. So that's at least what I heard. So we need this. We need this $1.5 million, and they do. And I love the Y, and I want them to get it so they can keep the $5 million in tax credits. But the discussion was from the city giving an additional $1.5 million on top of the $1.4 million that the waiving of fees and the $1 million. So it had some interesting discussions. Mario Trujillo is the one that promoted this. The interesting part that was on there is Councilwoman Dorothy Pemberton, which, I consider a friend, and she's a good person, an honest and ethical person. She serves on the YMCA board with me. And the last time for the $1 million, she felt it was important to recuse herself. So she wasn't on the dais and she wasn't there and she shouldn't have voted on it. And she did the right thing because she's on the board. It's like voting. I mean, it's nonprofit, of course, but it's kind of self-serving to vote for $1 million to get to something that you're a board member of. There's so many great charities. Granted, the YMCA is pretty special. But last night, she reversed herself and decided to vote on it, okay, as a board member, and actually seconded the motion from Mario Trujillo to give the additional $1.5 million. You know, God bless her. That's her own personal decision. When I was on the council, and even when we had the YMCA had the tree lots and so forth, and basically we were waiving, I don't know, minimal $100, $200 in fees for the tree lots over there on Firestone, which is a really family place. I recused myself. I just thought I wasn't getting money. It had no impact on me, but it was self-serving. The same thing, Dorothy Pemberton, I'm sure, did it with the best intentions because she loves the Y and she's a good person, and she's not getting any money on that. You know, if you vote against it, if you recuse yourself at first, why are you now coming into it on there? And maybe she thought it was more important. I'm not going to doubt her credibility as a good person or doing it for the right motives. I just think it looks especially troubling if you're a public official to do that. So let me talk about, and I want to quote exactly what people were saying last night. So this is important because I don't want to misrepresent anybody. The staff report said basically, the budget's done, it would have to come out of reserves. The city of Downey has about $35 million in reserves. Those are rainy day funds. We've had to use them in the past, and it's about 35% of the general funds budget. When I left City Hall, we had 41% in reserves. 35% is a healthy amount. 35 million is a great amount to have. Councilwoman Pemberton brought up that other cities have 16, 17%, so let's take it out of reserves. Mario Trujillo thought that this was so important, it should take it out of reserves to give this $1.5 million. And you know, Dorothy said our reserve, let me quote her, our reserves are strong. Most cities have 16%. It's an investment in the community, so nobody can argue with that. So then you had Mr. Trujillo wants to make sure that we take it out of reserves. We have the money. We think it's a wise investment. And I haven't heard anybody in the community against it. So, which is probably true because I don't think if you ask people, do you need $3 million, that might be a different story. Horacio Ortiz said he was struggling with this. The mayor brought up some really good points. He says, you know, he's got a responsibility for our city. He's looking at a new park. We also need the wells need to be funded from $200,000 to $500,000 for generators, and we need 9 of them. So there's some expenses coming up, and we rent them right now for $40,000 a month. So that we need a balance and kind of a reality check, and it's hard for the city to be responsible for the why. Okay, and Claudia Fermetta shared those same comments. Thought, you know, it's very important. She's got friends on the board. We all do. Everybody on the board is a community board. So we share it, and we love the why. We think it is very important. And Claudia says, how do we justify the residents spending this money? Where do we find the balance? We just asked, especially to come from reserves, we just asked our residents to tax ourselves more for public safety, and yet we're going to give $3 million to one private organization, as good as it is, okay? So that was kind of important. The mayor brought up, Mayor Sosa brought up, he says, listen, he believes in the why. That's why he voted for $1 million in the past. But he says he's looking at the numbers, and you know what? It's really difficult to vote for something additional on top of that. And he looked at it. He says, you know, we have a STEM project in the Columbia, right? That's the expansion of the Columbia Center, adding the building, Discovery Building. We have roads that we're paying for. The bargaining, as brought up earlier by the city manager, the bargaining units are coming up. And so that's going to take money from general funds. there's other projects, and to hear a reallocation, the buzzword was reallocation of funds, meaning reserves. He thought it would be irresponsible. This is, and I'm quoting because I wrote it down. It would be responsible of us to pass Measure D and then hand out $3 million on one project. So, I hope I captured the essence of what they were talking about at the meeting. So, Steve Robertson, which has been a great cheerleader for this. My God, that man's put in so many hours, and there's a good team on that. I mean, and he lives in Fullerton, but he grew up here, had a business here, and he is just a dedicated, passionate person that I have the utmost respect for. I think he got a little bit hot when some of the things were coming up, and he and Mario Trujillo said, shame on us, that shame on us for not dedicating this for our kids. He goes, besides police and fire and schools, this is the most important thing in the city. Whether you agree with that or not, that's what he brought up, and that made some people a little bit upset. I think he was a poor man. I think this came out at 3 hours into the council meeting, the last item. So I understand that several board members were there, and I'm sure you get upset with that. But I'm telling you, Steve Robertson is one of the nicest, best men I've ever met, and this wouldn't have happened without him to get this far. So I think they are in a very desperate is a tough word, but it's like, does this get built? And this brings them back a little bit of the tax credits if they lose the tax credit. But the shame on you part was a little bit over the line, and maybe it was frustration from Steve. Mayor Sosa brought up that he was upset and he was offended by saying shame on you by not giving another $1.5 million when we have already given almost $1.5 million. So it's not like the city abandoned the Y, and previous councils have been fiscally responsible, and you shouldn't take something like this out of reserves. So that was a big give and take, and I held my breath a little bit, and I wanted to make sure that everybody there walked out, still believing in all the projects and the good people. Everybody there was a really good person. They just had different takes on the situation or how it should be. So what happened? Okay, so Mario Trujillo made a motion to give an additional $1.5 million. He did bring up, though, what if they're still waiting for Senator Bob Archuleta to see if he can do something, but it won't be on a timely enough basis. So he brought up the fact, hey, can we make a pledge? And if Senator Archuleta comes through, can we then withhold the pledge? And everybody thought that maybe that wasn't the most prudent thing to do, but he meant it in a good way of, trying to appease everybody. But he made a motion that we would draw the money from reserves or wherever it comes from, and to give an extra $1.5 million to the city of Downey. Now, this is what surprised me. Again, Dorothy Pemberton seconded it. She took herself out last night thinking it shouldn't be, and the city attorney, I'm sure, advised her that might be something she might want to do. But she seconded the motion. So they finally, and by the way, so Mayor Sosa did do a substitute motion to approve $66,000 in additional fees that are coming up. So they did approve that, okay? So they voted on that. That was unanimous. So they did give it $66,000. So when it came up to that, you had a motion, you had a second. They already had gone through the discussions, and it failed to pass. Councilman Trujillo, Councilwoman Pemberton voted in favor, and Mayor Sosa, Councilwoman Fermetta and Councilman Horacio Ortiz voted against it. So, stating what their additional points. So it failed. So bottom line, the YMCA was able to get $66,000 in additional fees, but it didn't get an additional $1.5 million. So you can have your thoughts on that. Again, it's too close to me. I love everybody involved, and especially the YMCA and all the people doing some great things there. It got tense, I think, from a couple of different things. So I'd welcome your thoughts and comments. So please be nice to everybody. If you can help out the YMCA as individuals, please do so. I can give you numbers. I can give you people to call, how to pledge money for it, and do that. We do need our YMCA. I love what they're doing in the design and so forth. It just wasn't meant to be for the city to give it, $3 million. Instead, they did about $1.5 million altogether. Anyways, so I wanted to catch you up, make sure that you knew what's going on. I welcome your comments. And lastly, later on this week, there's a mural in downtown Downey called Doodalicious, the artist Don Lampkin. He did it basically to raise money for State Gallery at that point. And he came and he had one of the prints. I bought print number 4 of the original ones that was nicely framed, had it in my council office and then at City Hall until I was termed out. And I told him, I go, listen, Don, we need to put that as a mural. And he says, well, I guess we can do a mural. And, he was thinking later on, he told me I've never done a mural before. And doodleisses are things that are important to him. When he was growing up, and he literally doodled them all, and it's beautiful. It's on the wall there, and the parking lot at Porto's. So then when we decided to do a mural, he wanted to do it in an alleyway. I'm like, wait a second. The colors are vibrant. I wanted something reflective of that in the city of Downey, on Downey Avenue in downtown Downey. So he did exactly that. So we did be able to talk to Porto's, and we got that wall to be able to do it. And it's beautiful. And this week we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of it. I love looking out my window and watching people take photos of it. So, folks, as elected officials, you always want these legacy projects, right? And I do. I have, the building at Columbia, I was mayor, the promenade, bringing Porto's in. Those are really nice and beautiful legacy projects. But one of the funnest ones was being able to make Doodalicious happen, because that's also going to be there permanently. So anyways, come by and check it out. Look at the thing as reflects. I'll be happy to tell you what each one of those things was written on there for, was painted on there in concept to the artist Don Lampkin and how they impacted his life. Some of those things are not even in Downey anymore. There's All-American Home Center, which we all loved and went to, right? It's, replaced by a Home Depot, which is sad to us Downey folks. And there's a couple other things on there that were part of his life. And that's why every time you look at it, it brings a smile to our face. And all the time I'm seeing people taking photos. Every politician running for office goes by there and takes a picture in front of it, uses their campaign, because it's interesting. I don't think he meant that on purpose, but the little this is Downey, the little city sign is right above eye level on the sign. So people, the sign is right above head. The sign is right above your head on the whole mural. So people take photos there, and with the sign behind you, Downey and the population and stuff. So you get every aspiring politician taking photos in front of that. So when I did my book release and they did the film on there and the tape, I'll be outside talking. I started a course in front of Doodalicious, which is, close to my heart. So anyways, I hope this helps catch you up with what's happening. I hope that nobody gets upset. I try to capture the essence of the council meeting and say what each council member brought up. I didn't go over their comments of what they wanted to do on certain things, because I wanted to concentrate on the two big issues, the redistricting and the YMCA. To finish, I want to thank our sponsor, Financial Partners Credit Union. They're awesome. 80,000 members and over $2.4 billion, started right here in the city of Downey 80 years ago. Another disclaimer, I serve on that board. I'm proud to do so. I think the credit union movement is the right thing for so many people that are, especially now, that are being helped and so forth. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. My cell number is 562-706-4114. Have a great day.